Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Live Wholism podcast. I'm your host, Lucy.
And I'm Ryan.
And we'll start this out with the Serenity Prayer. Higher power, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Woohoo!
Boom.
All right, excited to be here today.
Welcome back.
And if you guys want to send us any questions or comments, join in our discussion, feel free to do so at Instagram at Live Wholism, the Live Wholism podcast, and Live Wholism. And you can email us at thelivewholismpodcast@gmail.com, or go to where you're watching this from, and you can find many ways to
And
contact
also,
us.
I said this last week too.
And a YouTube channel.
Is that what
you're going to say?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've been posting these things, the video up live. So feel free to write us on there, and we'll see that. So that's pretty exciting.
New stuff.
Yeah. Right.
Woohoo. All right. So we are going to talk about what we've been doing to stay whole and nourished and aligned physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, which gets us into a topic.
Boom.
Let's freaking do it.
Let's get into it.
What have you been up to physically?
I don't really have, my God, the crazy thing is I don't really have much. That's the sad thing. I haven't really been to the gym. I've been really having to conserve gas just with my checks not being here yet. So I've had to make some hard decisions on that. However, I know I have to continue to stay active though. So I have been playing tennis and not really skipping out on that though. So, my big physical journey really has been, last week I had I haven't been talking about tennis the last few weeks here. But last week I played against somebody who, when I first saw him play, when I was I wasn't playing against his team, but I saw him hit the ball and I was like, I don't think I want to, but that seemed like that's going to suck. And I was just well, clearly he's just so many levels above me, whatever. Because I went to high school with the dude, so I recognized him. And so then we went to go play his team last Wednesday. And I was like, now wait a minute. Why are you playing against us? And then, so I figured he's probably gonna be their best player. So the way tennis kind of works is they'll have what's something called line 1, line 2, line 3. And usually line 1 is their best players and stuff like that. And then it kind of goes down through that way. So I'm line 2 and this dude was playing against me. And I was like, hey man, what are we doing? And so I was just kind of really, 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 really nervous. And I was like, well, I'm about to get blanked. And, but the crazy thing is that probably a few or 3 or 4 days before that, I had went to go practice and hit against the wall. And so the ball bounces back super fast and stuff like that. So I went in there with an intention though, because I know one of the things I struggle with the most is that I always forget the basics whenever I'm playing, which is move my feet, look at the ball, and swing the racket all the way through. If I can remember those 3 things, everything else is just kind of it'll kind of come to me. But those 3 things I constantly forget to do. So I went to go practice with this intention of just I am going to I don't care how slow I hit the ball. I don't care, but I need to make sure that I'm watching the ball hit my racket. I need to and so every single time I felt myself get off of it, I just made sure once again, look at the ball. So I'm it's a reminder. And then after I started kind of getting that rhythm, I started just going move your feet. And so I was just really practicing that really hard, being very intentional about that. And I'm very grateful for that. I think that's one thing I've learned a lot of my physical journey is that when I do something new, I really spend a lot of time to get and use it as a discipline so that I can get good at that before I go do a bunch of other things. And so then I'm going to go play against this dude last week, and all that went out the window. I was so nervous, but then I jumped out to a 2-0 lead early, and I was like, so this is the part where I struggle, which is I start asking myself, what the hell am I doing right here right now? And I was just like, okay, that wasn't supposed to happen. And so I have to, once again, like every single time before I'm about to go play, I always have to say a prayer and just be like, God, just let me just kind of like flow with this and just let me just play as best I can, pay attention to these different things. And I say it real quick and everything. And like, because one of the things I do when I get very nervous is that everything that I know, every technique, every basic, I just forget about it when there's high stress kind of there. Mm-hmm. So, which is a lesson in my life, just
I know. I'm just like sitting here soaking in the metaphor, and mentally I'm like, there are always metaphors with you in this part. It should be like a whole book at this point of Ryan's sports metaphors for life. It's incredible.
I mean, good God, man. Every time I hear myself talk about it, I'm just like, oh shit, I keep saying some shit here. So whenever there's like a high stress situation, I know like I'm going to forget the basics. I'm going to either short arm it. I'm either going to, not swing all the way through. I'm going to not do things out of fear of making a mistake more so than just like of playing the game that I've been training myself to play. And so on Wednesday, I was just like, I don't care whether I win or lose, because that's really what a lot of it comes down to. I want to make sure I fucking win. And when I kind of let that go and made my intention to be about looking the ball in and swinging with confidence and moving my feet, it's crazy how I started looking a whole lot different. And what happened then is that, like I said, I jumped to this 2-0 lead, and then I did kind of get in my head a little bit, just like, what the fuck am I doing? I started noticing that dude started playing a little bit harder, and I was like, oh, there it goes. So then, like, now we're like trapped in a battle, which then, because I've like really almost practiced with this intention, like it became to where like looking at the ball and focusing on those basics was no longer something I needed to continue to tell myself. Now I could start to strategize and start to figure out what the freak to do. And so, I'm talking with this dude, and he's not like as in shape as I am, and it's hot outside. And I didn't win the match. I feel like that's where it was going.
I was like on the edge of my seat.
But I ended up like the part though that just blew my mind was all of our games were amazingly close. Like a lot of tiebreakers, a lot of stuff like that. But one of the things I did notice was that like I didn't get afraid. There was a little bit more confidence in when I was swinging. There was more confidence in the way I played. Confidence in my ability to be able to adjust on the fly, because the dude served very hard, and like I've watched enough tennis to be like, all right, so the way to kind of cut that out is like I'll slice it. And like it's crazy how before I was almost afraid to do things like that, but there's so much more confidence now, and like just I think it's come down to muscle memory, where like when I see something coming at a certain way, like it's like my brain is starting to automatically know, like, kind of what to do and stuff. And so I've been last week, I was very just like encouraged walking out of there, even with the loss. Like I was like, because I was talking to him, he was telling me they're probably going to go up another level next year. And I was like, okay, so I'm basically playing against somebody that's 2 levels above me. And so I was talking to him, and he was just like, and I was like, how long have you been playing? Because I went to high school with him. I didn't know. He was like, I played on the high school team and everything. And I was like, okay. He was like, and I played like 2 years in college. And he was like, and by played, I mean like I was on the team. I was like, okay, so you played college tennis too. Yeah. And that's when it hit me like, okay, like there's 2 things I realized. I'm playing with a racket that I've had to get used to, but it's not the one that like I really do want, and I can't wait to get the one that I want. But it's one that I'm like making mine. And I walked out of there just kind of like feeling a little bit better about myself, of just like when I focus on the basics, it turns out I can play with anybody. And I started being able to strategize. I realized this dude ain't running nowhere. So I'm going to try to make him run to go get stuff. And I think he was trying to make me run, but didn't realize, oh yeah, I got energy for days, dude. Like I can get there. And not only can I get there, but as I'm running, I can also make decisions on what I want to do with the ball as I'm going there, which is super freaking different. Before it was just, and so like the thing about tennis is like the next part of me kind of started like coming out, just like, all right, figuring out when I'm playing defensively, which is just like getting the ball over there because they kind of got the advantage right now, or when I'm playing offensively and knowing that like I can hit this thing and I kind of got control back over the game and stuff like that. And so like I was able to start to kind of see those things, and like the game in the beginning of the year in August, the game it felt so fast, but now like it's starting to slow down again for me. And that has been amazingly encouraging, that like eventually these things do slow down and I can start to see and make decisions as opposed to just surviving. So yeah, it's really cool.
Wow. I love how you finished that with surviving, because that was going to be what I was going to say, that it's like, it sounds like at times you're describing your play as a version of surviving, and then at times as a version of thriving.
Yeah.
Like, again, with the life metaphors. And then I'm loving the life metaphor, which is you let go of winning or losing and focused on your technique and your part of it. And then it was a lot easier and more flowy.
That requires a lot of prayer, because I have to pray that every single time before I start playing, because my competitiveness takes over and it's just like, what the fuck ever it takes to win.
Oh, yeah.
But I was just like, God, I know that I can win if I focus on the basics. Whenever I start to get off or my life starts feeling unmanageable, it's because I've neglected the basics in my life. So I have to, so it just continues to bleed over into just so many different parts of my life. So yeah, physical journey was a very encouraging one. Where I kind of, like I said, I walked into this thinking I don't belong. And then I was like, I think I can play with these. And it's the same thing I kind of talked about when I had that tournament. Like by the end, I was like, I think I can play with these people, like for real. So yeah, it's I feel like I'm making a decision to go to the next level. And I was talking to the dude afterwards. I was like, yeah, it felt good to be able to like play somebody who's like way better than me. And he was like, I wouldn't go way better. Like, you know, this was something. And I also became a grunter.
You've officially crossed.
I didn't know that was going to happen, but what was
You're
happening?
like a real tennis player when you do that, though.
I don't do it loud.
Can you explain to anyone who might not know?
So everybody, like Serena Williams, you always hear her go, and it's just like, Jesus Christ, y'all. But I've tried my best not to be that person, because I'm just like, that just is so annoying and just fucking stupid. But they were taught, I did. And what I noticed sometimes when I practice is that when I hit or when I served and I kind of like released that air, everything was going in. And like, I was actually a whole lot more like I was able to kind of like, all the shots were going in. I was doing what I wanted. And so I've been like seeing some videos and folks are just like, look, I know that y'all think that grunting and like when they breathe that like it's ridiculous, but they were just like, but you know, a lot of times like what's happening is like, as you're moving, it's almost like you're breathing in. And like, that's kind of like, and like that kind of like, there's always just like this focus of just like, you know, the wind up is the breathing in, and then the release is when you let go of all that air and stuff like that. And so I was noticing that was actually working. Now, I wasn't doing it nearly as loud, but I was going like, bah! And I was like, yeah, because y'all aren't going to make me that loud person.
And wait for the day when you're on here like 6 months from now. Okay, guys, I'm that person.
I'm a full-fledged grunter.
Hey, to each their own, you know.
Because it's one of those things.
Works.
I've been so afraid because I don't like creating a lot of attention around me. So making all that noise always makes me very uncomfortable. But if it helps me to win and like be a little bit more focused, then I might have to put my damn ego aside and pride aside and think, because like a lot of it comes down to what is everybody else thinking about me as I'm doing that, because I know what I'm thinking about everybody else. And so but yeah,
these life metaphors. I mean, this is another life metaphor, you know.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Non-comparison and being your authentic self, and positive projections.
Afraid to do what works for me out of fear of what someone else is going to be thinking.
Exactly.
So yeah. So it's very, very interesting kind of physical journey, and it's made me like excited to keep to keep going. I don't care how many times I fall now. I'm just like, I can hang with y'all. I'm just going to keep showing up, though, until I get it. And so, yeah.
It's badass.
That's me. What about you, though?
Good. So for me, my physical journey has been interesting. You saw this when I last saw you. This had just happened and has changed my life for the positive. I hurt my foot.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So how did that help me? Okay. So because I didn't talk about it here, I just talked about it with you. So basically what happened was 2 weeks ago, I was sprinting, or I take my dogs for a walk every day, and I went in this beautiful woodsy area that I love going with a giant open field. And I let my one dog off the leash and my other husky puppy. Felt like just running, just like getting out my anxiety and just running. So we went on little sprints back and forth. And on one of the sprints, what ended up being the last sprint, I was sprinting, and I'm barefoot. And this is just a grassy field, just open. And my dog is beside me, sprinting. And then all of a sudden, I am, boom, face down in the grass, full-fledged sprawl front, where basically what happened was that when I was sprinting, my left foot, like, didn't go up all the way, and, like, the big toe caught. And so my whole body went forward, but my big toe didn't. So I sprained it.
Oh, did you sprain it?
I mean, that's what I'm, I mean, I heard it and I didn't break it.
Okay.
And it got really, really bruised. And
really bruised.
Like, really, really. Ryan was here on the day the bruising was happening live.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, whoa. And then by the end of the podcast, it was like, whoa. And then the next day, it was like, whoa. So that was the injury, right? So what happened as a result? I was limping, so I was putting more weight on my right foot to take it off my left foot. But I was traveling, so I had to pack and do all these sorts of things. So it wasn't like I wanted to be on it, and I wanted to find a better way to walk. And I suddenly found that if I essentially walked like Frankenstein, like if I put my focus in my back body and clenched the muscle that is at like the bottom of my glutes, and like did kind of this Frankenstein walk. Like, I don't know if you can envision it, or basically it's just like, it allows me not to put weight on the front of my foot. So if you think about that, it's like all in my back body. I'm squeezing my glutes. I got this kind of Frankenstein leg walk, and it was like my version of crutches. Like, and it was cool to see how I could just rearrange my posture and my body and walk normally. So this made me start thinking, wait a minute. Hold on. What have I been trying to do? Use my back body more, right? What does Ryan talk about that Tammy's talked about? That when something happens in it's usually the opposite effect. If something's hurting, look at the opposite of it, and that may be where the solution lies. So we've talked about it before. If your hamstrings are tight, probably check out what's going on with your quads.
Which we did that one time, and you were like, what is this?
Exactly. and I just could see the logic of that, like, unfolding in my brain, like, right, because that's the part of your body that is making up for you not using correctly the other part of your body. And I could just see that the reason I fell when I was sprinting was because I was doing the opposite of what I've been talking about here on the podcast. One, going slowly, and two, using my back body. I was sprinting and I was using my front muscles. So like, imagine if you're running. Imagine if instead of running, you're pedaling a bicycle and you're using the back of your glute, that same muscle I was talking about that gets you the Frankenstein walk, to pick up your leg to bicycle it. Like, imagine you're picking up your entire leg from your back bottom of your glute, and then you're pedaling like a bike.
I love you're coming into this.
And you can see me, he's watching me do it. And so if you do that a couple times around, it made me realize, wait, if I'm sprinting, aka picking up my feet quickly, like almost like imagine I'm pedaling a bike, but I'm just sprinting. If I'm not using my back body and I'm using only my quads and my front body, of course my toe's gonna catch. And of course I'm going to fall because I was never picking up my muscles really to be running. Is that painting a picture?
That was the 1000% where my brain was going.
Okay, cool.
Like, it was almost something like I was talking about with like the technique and the basics. Like you were able to even describe it. Like, I didn't pick up my leg all the way and I imagine my toe got caught.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I just could see, I was like, oh my God, this is the best injury that's ever happened for me. AKA, that's what I've talked about before, like that I believe. Yes, I got to see pain is an alert to realign and to do something different. It was just my body getting my attention, like, hey, this slow front body or this fast front body thing isn't working for you. And now we've made it really loud. So now you'll finally freaking listen. Yay.
Okay, and I'm curious, like, do you feel like, because you're talking about using your glutes here more, do you feel like you're walking using your glutes more now?
So now what it has led me to do is have that basically be my focus. And the best thing was that for like a week and a half of this, my foot would hurt if I would not walk like this.
Yeah.
Like if I would put pressure on the front of it. So it was like this training ground I was in where, so yeah, exactly. It was basically exactly what you're saying. I am now using, as I walk, as I pick up my dog, as I pack the car, as I do everything, I'm now just intentionally using my back muscles, my glutes, my like trapezoids or whatever it is if you like pull both your shoulders back at the same time. Like that, using that, engaging is what I mean by engaging that muscle and engaging my glutes and my hamstrings and like doing that where I'm flexing my heel basically. I'm so used to doing toes, I say too. So I'm flexing my toes, I'm squeezing the bottoms of my glutes, I'm pulling back my traps, and I'm going really, really slowly. And that has been my whole physical journey. I've stopped doing any workouts because it's almost like a 24/7 workout that I'm doing.
Oh yeah,
like,
it's also rehab too, a little bit.
Exactly, yeah. But I mean, I've realized that it's a lot. This is what was making this was the big breakthrough. I'm just realizing, I haven't seen you, I haven't told you. You know, I've been talking for like a year or two about how my legs have hurt.
Yeah.
I finally realized why. Because instead of doing that grip on the bottom of my glutes for like 2 years, I haven't. And so I've been using my quads. Think about every time you sit up. Like imagine you're going to stand up from a seat. Normal person who didn't go through the trauma I went through and like stopped using their back body, probably use your glutes, your hamstrings to pull you up. When I've been getting up from a seat for 2 years, I've only been using my quads and the front of my body. And after 2.5 years of that, it really, really hurts. So that's why my body's just been trying to talk to me, and I'm like alleviating so much pain I've had. I'm just changing my life. This has changed my life.
That's so wild. Like, that's one of the things that like Steph talks about all the time in her yoga class. One of the things we're constantly working on is making sure that we use our glutes to stand up, making sure like even when I'm like we're like doing like getting ready to go into like, I don't know, not tree pose. What's the other pose when you like bend down or whatever? I forget. But it's some other pose. But she was like, don't let your shins go past your ankles. And I was like, well, clearly that's impossible.
Yeah.
But she was like, and if you can't go down far, like that's okay. But what that's teaching us to do essentially is use our glutes. Because she was saying this is the biggest muscle that we have that we don't use often. She said most people are probably using their quads to get up and everything. So, and as you're saying all this, I'm just like, oh, Lucy is a real life example of this shit.
That's so cool too, how I like troubleshot it backwards and got the same answer she was talking about forwards. Like,
yeah,
that's really trippy.
That's like cool. Really fucking
Checks
dope.
out.
Yeah, I'm just, like that is like if you ever look at like track runners, like you just notice their glutes them shits are insane. And like, and that's what I was going to ask you too. Like going back, because I ain't the only athlete on this podcast. I know Lucy tries to make it seem like that in a lot of ways, but I am not. I'm not. And so, like, when you're in your field hockey days or in your gymnastics days or ballerina days, like, do you feel like there's any kind of similarities as far as like how this feels or anything like that?
Yes. I mean, what it's made me think, alluding to that, is, oh my gosh, I am so thankful that I was brought up being taught how to engage all these muscles from an early age. And wow, it's fascinating that I went through trauma and stopped using them, and now I'm retraining my body. Yet it makes me think of anyone who was A, never trained in those muscles, and B, maybe experiencing chronic pain. It may just be from that they're using the wrong muscles to stand up and walk around like I was.
Yep.
And it has like just enlightened me in that way, that could be the cause of a lot of pain. And now that I've seen it and felt it for myself, and how real it is and how devastating it is, and like how someone who's even like an athlete like me could get into it, it just makes me want to like spread a PSA or something, like use your glutes and heal your life.
That's one of the things Steph says, like whenever, like even if we're doing like a one-legged thing, she'll always make us push in our hips, she always says, but that makes us like focus. She was like, so right now your glutes should kind of be like that should be on fire, like the back of your leg should be on fire right now. And she was like, but yeah, what happens a lot is people stop using it and they don't think they realize that they're using their quads more to get up, to do these different, it's crazy how much what you just said. You always get on me. You always say things to me of just like, I'm in this class learning these different things, and now here you are coming to it on your own after I've kind of just been in here just listening to it. So that's dope shit though, man.
Well, there you have it. Okay, that was awesome because I've been dying to tell you that. I've like been sitting here the past 2 weeks like, oh my God, this breakthrough. And I'm going to tell Ryan about this breakthrough. And I realized this. It's
You're
so
about
cool.
to be freaked out when we get to the mental section, what I'm going to tell you then.
I love it. So what have you been up to mentally, emotionally?
Okay, so here's where you're going to freak out. So not freak out, but I had wrote this down so that I wouldn't forget. I was just kind of, I was driving back from the library one night and I was finishing up the book. Not the book, I didn't finish it, but I'm on like page 90 now, which means I only got like 24 pages to go, which is fucking insane. I was looking at that and was just like so proud of myself, honestly. I ended up writing something that, okay, well, this wasn't where I was expecting to go with this, and I'm going to get back to where I was going. But I was looking at rereading what I wrote and was like kind of like adjusting some things. And it just ended up just being just this amazing, godlike, beautiful moment of just, wow, I can't believe that like my higher power, like when I tap into it, like gives me the ability to be able to like see these things and have like the words to be able to write it, because I myself was inspired by this one particular thing that I wrote when like the woman goes back to her old kingdom and, you know, there's like a haboob, which is like one of those big sandstorms and stuff like that. And they have to like kind of walk through it. And like, it was just such a beautiful thing where like, she couldn't like feel the Earth's ground, but that's because there was a lot of other particles from other planets there. So she couldn't figure out where to ground. It was just beautiful. And then when she walks in finally, just the amount of emotions that I've been feeling and rewriting, or at least revising her part. And like, really, it's been, I don't know. I really do just, I become very grateful in those moments. That's all I can pretty much do and say. So anyway, so I'm leaving out of there. And as I'm leaving out, this was August 31st. I wrote this down. And I see you smiling.
I'm just seeing astrology. I'm like setting the picture astrologically. There is a super full moon, the blue moon. So I was just like feeling all the planets.
So as I was walking out, I was noticing slowly the moon starting to come up. And I was like, okay. And I was like, oh yeah, something's supposed to be happening with the moon today. And so I like was looking at it, and I was looking at it slowly rise, because like where the library is, for those who don't know, it's like on the 5th floor, and you can like, it's all glass up there, so you can kind of see everything come about. So it was just something to kind of like see it slowly move up. But I was writing. So as I was driving home, like there's been a lot of things on my mind, but I happened to be like just driving home, and like just the moon was just sitting there right in front of my fucking face. And all I could do was just look at it. And I was just like entranced for some reason. And all I kept thinking is like, how beautiful this thing was just looking at it. And then it like reminded me, like, as much as sometimes it feels like things get overwhelming in my head and in my life at times, I was just looking at that moon and was just like, bro, there's so much more out here that I do not fucking know. And I just found myself just like on the highway, probably not the best time to be staring at something that's not the road. But sometimes it becomes so easy to just get caught up in just whatever the freak is happening right in front of my face on this earth and everything like that. But when I was looking at that moon, like, I was just like, there's a lot of things I don't know, but I can tell you one thing. I am looking at this thing. I was expecting the moon to turn blue. I was kind of upset it didn't do that. I don't know why they call it a super.
I know what you mean.
I was like, why y'all call it a super blue moon and it's not blue? I'm pretty mad about that. But as I was looking at it, I was like, this is the closest this thing I've ever particularly paid attention to it being. It looked just so large, and it looked like it was like right freaking there. It looked like you can actually touch it. And all I could just sit back and think of was just like, at least in that moment, just how much I do not know, and how grateful I am that, like, you know, that I can just accept this right now. And I thought about you because I was like, this is that moon stuff Lucy be talking about. This thing is really fucking cool. So so that was pretty much my big moment. It was really kind of cool for me. I was really excited about it. And I wrote it down as soon as it happened. And I was like, I'm going to tell Lucy this when we get back on the podcast. I was like, because that was the first time where I really like just noticed just the beauty of it and the freedom of it. So, yeah.
That's so beautiful. And I love how you say the freedom of it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because that's so beautiful too. It's like the vastness of space gives you this free feeling. This like, it's so big that it's so uncontrollable that it's free.
Yep. It's freaking insane.
Wow.
Freaking insane.
Right
so,
on.
Yeah, I had to just, seeing that made me, yeah. So that's that.
We're supposed to go, I haven't checked on this in a couple of months, but we're supposed to go to the moon this year, humans. I mean, me and you. I like how I said we, you kind of looked at me like, we are? Is that on the calendar? I missed that. Yeah, we're going to uncover the dark side of the moon.
Oh, I think someone in India did it or something like that.
Did they? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I remember like a year ago I was reading. This year we were going, so.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
Love that moon.
That dope shit.
Okay, so I love that you said that too, because my mental emotional is very cosmic and big and special to me. So I feel like the moon is a good intro. My mental emotional, which is where we would talk about things like audiobooks per se.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's going to be a very personal audiobook adventure. I recorded my audiobook for Daily Alignment.
Boom for everybody.
It was so dope. It was so dope. It was so dope. It was so dope. I just felt like, so it was in Charlotte, and it was just so perfect because my parents lived there, and they could have had it anywhere in the world. They could have asked me to go to, but they asked me to go to Charlotte, having no idea that I had affiliations there. So I had this beautiful backdrop, my parents' home and my dogs and the nature that's all around my parents' home. And then, so I just had like this peaceful environment from which to be coming and leaving to record, which is just so beautiful. Yeah. I mean, it could have been so, anyway, I just thought that was so cool that it happened like that. And so I was in the studio for 4 days, and it was just so fascinating. I mean, just every single minute of it, I was living out a dream of mine. And so I would just highlight that, and I would just be sitting there like, I am having a peak experience. I am living my dream. This is a manifested reality. This is proof, Lucy, when you want to look back and have evidence that you can manifest things and that dreams can come true and that you are living your highest path. It's happening live. And so I just really took time to appreciate that, because I think that's important to do. Mm-hmm. And it was just so cool to be in there and also learn things like, I mean, the first day I went in there just thinking, so I would go in at 10 every day, and it didn't have a time till, because it's, however the artist works, right?
Oh, is it really? Is that how it went?
So, I mean, you want to go as long, but it's just like, it's kind of up to what happens. And so it was cool for me, someone who's so like goal oriented. Like I went in the first day, like, oh, maybe we'll finish it all today. Right. After, about an hour and a half, I just like felt an energy shift. So I took a break so that, and me and the recording guy just started talking and chatting, like taking a break, had a snack, went back in like 15 minutes later. And I was just like, the energy isn't here anymore. So let's cut for today. And It was just cool to be like, wow, I can just feel those things and know those things and be confident in those things and trust my higher power in those things. And it was just like so cool to just be like, okay. And then to like leave work at like 12 and like go to the pool. That was a really awesome day. And I was just sitting there like, I did it. Like I'm living for all those times. And if you want them, guys, listen to episodes 1 through like 33. If you want to be in some darkness, I just was just sitting there like, for all that darkness, I got the light. I got it. Like all those times I told myself, just keep having faith, just keep going, just keep trusting, just keep believing. It's going to be okay. You're going to get there. Like I had a moment of that. Like I lived that reality where I was happy and peaceful and living my life purpose and restful and relaxed. And it was easy and it was fun and it was playful and it was joyous and it was uplifting myself and uplifting others. And it was everything I wanted.
I could I could feel, I don't know what, this is what like made me stop as you were speaking. Because I imagine you were like, what the hell is going, like, I don't know what the hell just kind of came out when you was talking, but I felt, I don't know how else to describe it other than I'm trying to find 2 words: freedom and love. And another word, and joy. For some reason, as you were like speaking, like there's always a smile on your face, but there was something about the way you just got through talking that made me go, wow, you are in it. Like it was like just this feeling of, oh, you feel this feeling of this was worth it. I don't know. I'm just going to make a net guess, but. Exactly.
And
I hear balance.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Like even when you just got through saying like, you weren't feeling it and you decided to take a break. I'm just now getting to that point with my creative endeavors. And I'm just like, how connected are you within yourself and what you need to be able to be like, it ain't there. See, I would have pushed past that. Like you are just getting started on this creative thing. And I am just like super inspired by you just to kind of see it, feel it, and try to be your best self and not you've talked about it a lot, like your doer self, like to put your being into it and not, like your spiritual part into it and not like just I got to get it done person. Yeah, you are kind of living this out, like just to manifest that, to see that. Is it one of those, I don't know, I'm listening to, I'm like, if you had to tell back the story to how you got here, do you think you can?
I can do it in one quote from Thich Nhat Hanh. No mud, no lotus.
Huh. Okay.
I went through those mucky, murky bottoms of the lake and pushed up and pushed up and pushed up and got to the surface and bloomed, baby.
That's freaking a lot. I'm just blown away by that. That is.
Thank you. I'm just soaking that in. I appreciate it.
That is so fucking cool. And for those of y'all who don't know, like, Lucy's creative, like, Lucy has taken, like, this thing to a level I've never seen. So, like, I've been super inspired by watching you do these things.
Thanks, man.
Just letting you know. I've always been creative. A lot of things with my family is very creative people who it always kind of fizzles out at one particular point when it goes to trying things at the next level. And I'm just looking at you do it. And I think I was thinking about this just this past week, and I was like, man, I'm super glad that Lucy ain't me. Because, seriously, because as much as I know I like to create stuff, like, I look at you and I go, man, like, and then you go and do the next thing to, like, you like to go and invest into, like, all these different things that you've invested to because you believe that much in that book is really freaking huge, even through the creative process of it. Like, well, not even the painful process that you ended up taking and making something creative out of it. It's kind of fucking dope. So, and then just to, like, so I'll be honest, like, just to kind of watch it on this side of it is very interesting. Like, that's how that works. It's hard to see it when I'm just stuck in my own mind. So it's been cool to watch you. So yeah.
Thank you.
That's a beautiful, beautiful moment.
Thanks.
Did you soak it in when you were there? One of the things we did when we did the Kickstarter was we stopped.
Yep.
Did you do that?
Yep. I really did. And it was so cool when I got to the page in the book that's your ikigai. So your ikigai is the Japanese word for basically your life purpose. Mm-hmm. It combines your passion, your mission, your vocation, and your profession. It's basically a Japanese word that means, like, how to find your life purpose and live it. And when we got to that page, I just sat there taking deep breaths for a while. And the guy knew what I was doing too, because we were, like, friends at that point. He knew I was just like, and then I just, like, took a moment. And as I read it, I just savored the deliciousness. And then as soon as I was done, I, like, started crying. And I told him, I was like, I'm living my ikigai, like, I'm living my ikigai right now.
That's
like,
freaking crazy.
This is live. Like, and we just took a moment to, like, celebrate that.
That's amazing. Sometimes it feels like I never see that. And I think you to see that and see what it looks like, that's an inspiration.
Thanks, man.
That's freaking crazy.
Thanks.
Huh. The loose.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Freaking amazing. Wow.
Okay, so.
Topic time?
Topic time. So, this is cool because you kind of alluded to this in the tennis part, which always makes me happy, you know? So, I love that I just called your physical part the tennis part.
I talk about it so much.
It's no longer Ryan's physical part, it's Ryan's tennis part. You know, in the pit tennis section of the podcast.
Yeah, Ryan's podcast. Become a tennis podcast, guys.
Oh my God. Okay. So, one thing that has been happening that's really cool is that, rephrasing. So here's really the question, and then I'm going to talk about my experiences with it. So I've been noticing that my basic things I do to stay aligned are shifting. So it's kind of like how you mentioned in the physical section that you have these core things that you do like in times of crises or to keep your game on the ground or when you want to let go of winning or losing. It's like your base trick of tools that keep you grounded or whole. And I've had a series of them. I mean, I wrote a book about it. Yeah. So I have a lot of them. And it's been interesting for me to see the ones that I use as my super core foundation are shifting, dare I say like evolving, maybe like leveling up. And it brings up a lot of feelings. One is like fear. What if I let go of those basic ones and I'm not doing them every 5 seconds? And then the other is curious fascination with the process of essentially evolution that, wow, like the more I get answers, the more answers I'm going to get. Mm-hmm. The more I get solutions, the more new solutions I'm going to get. It's almost like the more I get a question answered, the more new questions I'm going to have.
Yeah.
It's like kind of cool.
I think I said it before where it's like you get to the top of a mountain, then you realize there's another mountain behind. It's like,
yes.
Oh, wait a minute.
Exactly. So I wanted to see if that resonated with you at all and if any of yours had shifted. And first, I'll just share a couple of mine, like kind of what they've shifted to. So my core, I still have a breathing technique. Breath work is big, being about at the core of things. So breath is still there. It's just the specific technique that is basically breathing as a wave, as the ocean. So the ocean, if you picture a wave rolling in and out and you picture the tide, it's fascinating and a cool metaphor for the breath because it is continually, rhythmically, always, never stopping even for 1 second of a second, going in and out. Inhaling and exhaling. And if you watch when waves turn, like curl over themselves, like when they get to the end and then they curl back in on themselves, it's such a beautiful metaphor for the curve of an inhale and the curve of an exhale. Like inhale and then that curve that goes to the exhale and then that curve that goes to the inhale. That's really where beautiful breath work can be done and a lot of toxins can be released in that area. So the count that I've taken to this is breathing in for a count of 8, holding for what I call a count of 0, and then breathing out for a count of 8 and holding for a count of 0.
Do you really go to 8s? I'm an 8 person.
Yeah, that's so cool. Well, This is my new one.
Okay.
I found this breath work to be in alignment with the waves and the rhythms of the ocean and that infinity. And 8 is really cool. If you put it on its side, it's the infinity symbol.
Everything I've ever, like all of my jerseys had the number 8 in it.
That's
somehow.
Your thing?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Even like my freshman year in high school, I was number 26, which is 2 plus 6 equals 8. So
that's so cool. Yeah. And my birthday is 26.
Is it? Oh, look at that.
An 8 in my numerology, yeah.
Well, that is just freaking fun.
So yeah, 8's a powerful number.
Mine is 620. 6 plus 2.
8.
That's
There's
fun.
your 8. See how they check out? Yeah. It's so cool.
Okay,
it's so cool. I was like, okay, do I want to go down a whole numerology thing? Because I will talk about this for like 4 hours. Yeah, I'll just say that everything in the universe carries vibrations. That we figured this out scientifically, and numbers do too.
Yeah.
So it's cool that we can. Numerology says, and I believe that we come in with these certain numbers in our life path because we vibrate with them. So that would say kind of like, yeah. Anyway, I'll stop. Okay, so I caught myself. So we're gonna do a round if you'll indulge me, or I'll just be guiding it for anyone that wants to join. So. We're going to breathe in for a count of 8, hold for a count of 0, breathe out for a count of 8, hold for a count of 0, and be picturing that wave crashing, inhaling and exhaling. And the count of 0, it's 0 because it's just like a wave. It's not really a count. It never stops. It's really always curling into the next wave. But you'll see what I mean. It's like a little pause. But technically, I call it a 0.
Yeah, but I am.
Yeah, it's just kind of fun.
No,
it's curious. Like it's conceptual,
I want to see how you do this. I'm very curious.
Okay, so we're breathing in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wait, I was so excited and nervous that I forgot how to do it. Hold on. And you were staring at me so intently that I was like, oh my God, don't mess up, Lucy. Okay. Now I'm needing to practice it in my head one time first. Okay, hold on. Okay. And we're breathing. And ready. And inhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 0. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 0. 1,
Oh,
2,
okay, I see what you're doing there.
3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale. 7. Inhale. 8, 0. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hold. 1. See, it's this little.
Yeah. I see what you mean.
So that's a base. So that's how I'm breathing as I'm going. Be in the wave continually, in the flow. And then the other really big thing I'm doing is a concept I've talked a little bit about here. Basically, I am focused. Here's my mantra. I trust myself to take care of now. And I trust my higher power to take care of all other than now. So what that is doing is a combination of so many things I've been learning. One, being in the now. We've talked about it so many times here, but I came to this cool place a couple weeks ago where I realized there's really, and I know I've talked about it, so I'll just touch on it, but there's really now and not now. There really isn't even this day or this month or this week or this year. Those are all human time constructs. So if I can envision and focus upon the now and then trust my higher power to take care of all other than now. So that's getting into neurolinguistics, which we were talking about a couple weeks ago, which is basically.
Were we?
Yeah.
I've never heard that word before in my life.
So we hadn't used the word, but basically that's what we've been doing. And it's been so exciting that that's come into. Okay, yeah. So neurolinguistics is what we've been doing. I didn't know it was called that either. And I've been dying to tell you. So that was what we were doing the other week with things like when I was saying, I'm focused on now and not now, as opposed to now versus past or future. So using the words like past or future can bring about those vibrations and that momentum. So then you're starting to touch the past and future when all you were really trying to do was touch not now.
It's interesting. I had to break it down to make it make sense. Not brain language.
Yes, it's brain language. Yep, exactly. And
Brainguage.
Yes. And it's the words that you use in your thoughts and in your word, the words that you're using in your brain, whether they make thoughts or lead to emotions or come out as words or make you do actions, those things that are, those words that are happening in your brain are having an impact on our vibrations and attracting more of similar vibrations into your experience. Mm-hmm. So the science is showing and the spirituality is showing, whichever person I'm thinking of to explain this, that basically whatever words we're putting in our thought processes, we're attracting more of that. So if I am saying I'm focused on now and I'm giving my higher power all other than now, all of those vibrations of those words were about now. So now is being attracted to me. When I say I'm giving my higher power the past and the future, that's fine. It's just I then brought in vibrations of past and future, which I was trying to get away from. Mm-hmm. So neurolinguistics is the power is describing what these games we've been playing.
Okay.
So yeah. So my mantra, and then I'm bringing in trust, which we've been talking about a lot here, right? Faith, belief, and trust. Trust being the biggest. It's throwing the ball to someone and trusting they will catch it.
And if they don't, you will. It happened last week in one of the week 1 NFL games. The guy dropped the ball 3 times.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, there were big drops too.
So. Good thing he's not my higher power. So with my mantra, I trust myself to take care of now. We've got the... No, I love it. I trust myself to take care of now, and I trust my higher power to take care of all other than now. And that has been alleviating from me anxiety, which is thinking about the future, depression, thinking about the past. It is getting me into this focus of one moment at a time, like in a way that I have never experienced. I am really highlighting for myself, and my biggest work, and I'm doing it, is to go throughout my day now without thinking of the things I'm going to do later in that day. And I'm pumped because it's my training is get to where I'm not thinking as much about what's going to happen in weeks and months. Now at least it's like getting in on this day, but it's wild that the pattern's still there, the desire to think ahead of this now. But this mantra is allowing me to simplify my thoughts. And it's crazy how 99% of them are not about now. So I just have to give them to my higher power and go on with my day. Oh, wow, it's kind of awesome.
Yeah, ain't that wild?
And then the last thing I've been doing is focusing on energy beaming upon me that's loving me. I, for so long, was basically envisioned not consciously, but had envisioned other people or the world or whatever is almost like against me or hating me or criticizing me. Definitely criticizing, like attacking me, like I was always kind of protecting myself. And so it's been really cool. We talked about this on the podcast. I was sharing how I realized I was projecting what other people were thinking and feeling onto me. So now I've realized I was doing that. I was going to flip it on its head and at least make it positive until it can kind of neutralize and flow out of my energy. So I've been practicing with that. I picture like all my angels and all my higher power loving me. Like I zoom outside of my body. I picture myself above my body being loved by my higher power. And sometimes when I'm brave enough, by other people and by myself. And I just feel this loving energy coming in on me. And it's so different from that like imagined criticizing energy. That would kind of make me like contract all my muscles and like shrivel up. And envisioning that I'm just like having love beamed upon me, it just makes me like relax and have fun. So long of the short, I'm walking around on a daily basis, breathing in for a count of 8, holding for a count of 0, breathing out for a count of 8, holding for a count of 0, being a wave flowing in life. I trust myself to take care of now, and I trust my higher power to take care of all other than now. There's my peace, my serenity. And then I am envisioning myself being loved. And there's my love and light and just soothing and relief. That's what I'm giving myself, relief. So there you have it.
And so these are like the new
things I'm doing on a daily basis pretty much over and over to stay in alignment. Whereas like maybe like 3 years ago when I first started having things that I did over and over on a daily basis to maintain alignment, they were listening to sounds, doing a box breathing, and highlighting positive aspects in my day.
What would you say is the common denominator between those two?
Ooh, between my old set and my new set?
Yeah.
Great question. Okay. So I feel like 3 big things. I feel like 1 is tapping into my parasympathetic nervous system.
Okay.
That's behind so much of what I do. And
could you explain what parasympathetic nervous system is for those?
So that's basically the opposite of fight or flight, which is when you're when all of your automatic, a fight or flight is the automatic evolutionary response to a perceived threat, real or not. And your body shuts off your prefrontal cortex and shoots all that adrenaline and all those hormones and everything through your body, get your pulse rate up, get your breathing up, and get you ready to react to danger, basically to save your life. So that is when your sympathetic nervous system is active. The opposite of that is when you are in rest or digest, or your parasympathetic nervous system is activated. And that is when your pulse rate is lowered, your heart breathe, your heart is lowered. You are feeling calm and centered and stable. And so, wow, that so much of that is based on what is happening inside our body, like automatically as a response to danger or not. Like it's wild how much of us feeling calm can be related to if our parasympathetic or sympathetic nervous system is engaged. So like things that tap into our parasympathetic nervous system are doing the intentional breathing, checking in with your senses, doing a body scan. There are tons and tons of ways to tap into your parasympathetic nervous system, but it's basically that feeling you get when you walk around like feeling good.
Yeah.
And then, so parasympathetic nervous system.
And what would you say that's attached to your breathing is what you would say?
Definitely the breath work, but also like before when I would do the listen, when I would just hear sounds, it's like that. And it's also really connected with being in the now. It's being grounded in the present moment so it's interesting how it all kind of couples together. And then they all bring in, or within the three, I tap into source, my higher power, source energy. So yeah.
So that's what you would say, like out of like that has to be a part of your daily like practice is some way to be able to tap into that.
To tap into source, to tap into now, to tap into my parasympathetic nervous system.
So before you would do that by listening to sounds and
box breathing.
Breathing,
inhaling for a count of 4, holding for a count of 4, breathing out for a count of 4.
And now you're doing it by neurolinguistic. Yeah, I was about to go brain language. and now that's you're doing it by neurolinguistics, and you're doing it by counts of 8.
Like positive. I would say, well, that's breath work, right? So that's getting into, so that's parasympathetic nervous system again. And then the metaphor of the wave is big too. That's like this like floating feeling. And then the love beaming in, that's like positive projections almost, or like.
And before I tell you like what I've been doing, I'm curious, like having heard you say those two things, do you think it's really shifting or changing?
I know, right? Well, here's what I'll say. That's why I like the word evolution, because it's growing on itself.
Yeah.
It's like similar but different. It's like it's more evolved concepts.
Yeah.
Like it's higher concepts along the same vein.
But it's still but it's still like at its core, at its most basic, it hasn't, I'm listening to it like it hasn't really changed at all, actually. Just the way to which you get it is a little bit different. But I'm just like at the base of it though, I wouldn't say that anything that that has like helped center you has changed.
The intentions behind them are the same. I'm doing them in different ways.
And I guess that is like one thing I think that is probably the hardest thing, at least for me, or probably other people too, is like figuring out what is that thing that helps you to calm down. What is that base thing?
Damn. I love how you just like basically made the topic. There it is. Yeah. That's how it's, yes.
And
whoa, I like what you just did with this. Okay.
Because what you just asked me, I'm just like, because like, I don't, I'm like, I don't think my stuff has changed at its most basic. And like, that's what I was saying, like even with tennis, like when I swing, I still have to swing all the way through, but how I hold my hand will shift how the ball spins and all these different things. But it's still,
you're just like, wow, sorry. Yeah, you're just live blowing my mind. You just made me realize that now I can, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead, no.
You just literally blew my mind live. Like, I now have something much more firmer of a foundation really to grasp onto, you've shown me.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about what tip or tool or technique I'm doing. I can just go throughout my day or whatever, whenever I want to tap in, doing whatever brings me to my parasympathetic nervous system, whatever brings me to source, and whatever brings me to now.
That is...
Fuck yes, that's genius.
Is what
you just did here.
Yeah, that is what you needed. That's the genius.
Ooh, okay.
That is probably the beautiful part that you figured out years ago, though. And it's the same thing sometimes, even like, because you had said, like, I had touched on it with tennis, like when I'm serving, my serving motion is the same every single time. But how I make the ball spin differently is I'll look at the situation, and based on how I'm gripping the racket is what makes it spin in a bunch of different ways, or where I end up kind of like following through. But it's all the exact freaking same. So then what is happening last week, based on the situation, like, okay, like he's starting to be able to hit this slice, this spin a little bit different. I'm going to change up my grip here. It's going to be the exact same motion, but the ball's going to be spinning right at him as opposed to spinning somewhere different. And so, but like the basics of it, the core of it is still the exact freaking same. So it just took a while to be able to learn that technique and that motion. And now I can go around and I got a bunch of different ways, but it's all kind of the same. You know, it's kind of like you had asked, like, what I do. And at my most basic, I need something that allows me to focus on one thing as opposed to like the 6 billion things that are happening inside of my mind. So for a while, leaving out and going to go play football or something like that allowed me to have this team environment, to be able to feel like I'm a part of something. And you might hear something different as I'm talking, but so for a while, like football was that. I had friends, I had people, like I would go teach myself something new. When the ball was coming towards me, like I had to focus in on it so that I can catch it and stuff like that. Then after that, it was kind of make some moves and stuff. And when that was no longer working for me, because I process a lot spiritually through physical movement, because I need to essentially find a way to burn off the energy so that I can be calm enough to hear God. Because the problem is that I have so much energy that it makes it hard for me to hear God. But when I'm tired, I hear him clearly. So I need to find a way to get that done. So I do that through the gym. Sometimes, you know, there are some days I'm like, yo, I got to get it going. And I'll just be sweating and I'll have the music playing and stuff. So at its most basic, okay, as I'm saying that hasn't changed. I still got to find a way to burn this energy off so that I can hear my higher power. So there could be the gym. For a while it was football. And right now it's shifted to tennis and yoga. That's weird. But like yoga is not a very like demanding thing, but the way to which she teaches the class, we have to really put our minds into focusing on this one particular body part. For example, like she'll have us do like a pose. We like have let's say like our left leg straight and we're on the ground and we're like on our stomachs. Our left leg is straight and we'll have our right leg kind of out like a 90-degree angle. And she'll say, I want you to focus though on pressing your pubic bone into the floor. Relax every other muscle, but press your pubic bone into the floor. And we're really going to get into these different muscles. So that requires a certain level of energy and she continues to repeat it, which I'm very grateful that she does that because my mind goes about 6,000 different places as we're doing it. So the core of that though, the core of why I need it hasn't shifted. I'm very grateful that I actually understand what the core of why I need it. So that allows me to go find it now. And it's shifted to where I need it in yoga. I do it in tennis. The gym is still these things. How else do I burn it off? That might be it to me. But, and then for a while, I also require this thing. All of it is kind of like is a way to be able to tap into like, how can I push past what I'm seeing to like hear something that my higher power is saying. So for a while for me too. Like that's why creatively it's a very, very big deal for me. Like, because that allows me to be open to something I've never seen before. So I have to practice that through. So one of the things that I need is a way to be able to practice openness. And so for a long time, it was, writing has never changed. Writing is how I do that. But sometimes it's, am I going to write creatively? Is that how I'm going to see it? Am I going to journal and write from my heart? Is that how I'm going to see it? Is it going to be from me writing a script for someone else's business, having seen, more of what their vision is, which might give me more insight into myself a little bit more? Is that going to be what it's going to be? Is it going to be, sometimes it can come from looking at a movie and like seeing how, and like I'm able to like put in my head how they're writing it, like in my head of just like, and then seeing someone else's stuff, which helps me to be able to understand myself a little bit more. So that allows me to be open. Because I was talking about it on this podcast last week, like Dragon Ball Z, I've been watching that a whole lot more lately and able to see myself a whole lot more through this character Gohan. And because that's who I've always loved, that character, because I felt like that was me. And so how I'm doing that now, as far as like openness, I'm not always exactly sure. I don't think that's changed much. It's still, because I write a new book so much, or I'm working on something new with this particular novel and series, like every last bit of it, it always feels like it's something completely new. So even though it's the same characters, but the story is just so different that like, I don't feel like I need to switch it that much. But so those things have been like, so far, as just based off of what you're saying, that I can think of right now, that like they've shifted, but not shifted.
Yeah. I appreciate what you said, and you're tripping me out because it started making me think it's kind of like we're taking things that are core foundational things and then sharing different tips around them, almost like this podcast where we have these core physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual concepts, and each week we share tips around it. And that was just like holism inception right there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Isn't that?
That's exactly.
And then it made me think like when I shared parasympathetic nervous system, now, and source, that's body, mind, and soul. Parasympathetic is your body.
Yeah.
That's the physical.
Yeah.
Mental, emotional is the now, and source is the spiritual. And you were sharing about your physical, going to the gym, all that. And then your writing, which is like your mental, emotional, is what taps you into your spiritual.
Spiritual, yeah.
Isn't that weird how we just kind of got there backwards and forwards?
Yeah, we really did just kind of get there. And I love how you said it, of just like every week it's something different, but it's also the freaking same. So, for me, once I figure out what's something, like a new way to which to get to this common denominator that I always wanted to tap into, like, 'cause that's one of the things that I do know. Like a lot of it, like my daily readings, I've never. That's not going to go away. Every week, I read the same words, but every week, every time I reread them, because there's one entry for every day of the year, and so every single time I read back through it, there's something new that hits me. So I've learned that that's just, and sometimes it's the same thing that hits me. And you can see the amount of highlights I have inside of my book. And I'm just like, shit, I keep highlighting the same damn thing. I still ain't learning something. And so, I always do that. But it's that same thing. Like, once I see something that like, I really do see as very beneficial for me, I think that's when for me, a big thing that I've been adding in is discipline and like sticking with that one thing and not like always trying to find something new. Now that might be something new for me. That has been shifting, which is once I've felt something and kind of found it, to seek it, like to stick with it until I become good at it. I don't have to be master it, but continue to work at it even through the hard things, because I'm trying to teach myself like discipline and sticking with something. And when I choose something to not just go away, because now it's like, the honeymoon phase of it is over, or like the inspirational part of it is over. So now that just means I need to go find something else. I'm just like, no, that's not who I want to be either. So that has been, and I'm not sure how I'm going at its core. That's what I know I need, is to not just move on to the next thing. And so how I've been kind of doing that is, that's where acceptance kind of comes in. Oh, I'm at that part where I'm frustrated now. Okay. Like, oh, this doesn't feel like it's going to work. Oh, this feels like that's where the mental kind of stuff starts to come in for me. But that is one thing that I know has been shifting in me, is not always seeking, but once I've found something, getting good at it, and then being like, all right, God, let me know when it's time to move on to the next. But until then, I'm going to work on this. And that keeps me focused too.
It makes me think of like integrating a new habit.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to think the word habits, I was like, what is that? You would hear like, oh, bad habits and habits. It was never fun.
Yeah.
Like my whole life. Now it's one of my favorite words. There are good habits. There are joyous habits. There are wonderful habits. And it's really about recognizing what my bad habits are, shedding those.
Yeah.
But then there's the really exciting part of building the new habits, the good habits, the joyful habits. Like a habit is just anything you do a lot. It's just being disciplined to keep doing it, like you're describing. You know
what's crazy? I think about it in this way of I want it to become so ingrained in me that it's just second nature. And until it's that, I'm just like, I'm going to keep working at it. Like, there are some times now when crazy, like and I think that's what keeps me motivated to keep trying these new things and doing this is that when like that fight or flight, or when that stressful moment hits, I want my mind to immediately go to the healthy thing.
Yes.
And until that happens, I'm going to keep working on this one particular tool until it does that. And I felt it a little bit. That's why I was excited about tennis last week. I felt it a little bit in a high stress situation, a little bit second nature. I tapped into my healthy habit, which is something I have to work on consciously. And so it's the same kind of thing with like, I felt a little bit stressed with this check situation and stuff like that. And I've just been, I kind of tapped back, like instead of me focusing on what I'm not getting and trying to go down their throats, the first thing I did was just like, oh, let me go back to, I just started reading the Bible again.
Wow.
That's like, oh, that's second nature now. Like my habit, the discipline now has given me a chance to be able to, when that moment comes up, go to something healthier. And until, I think that's one of the things I'm trying to focus on lately is getting so good at something that it's second nature, so that when the stressful moment comes up, I keep going to the healthy thing. Even if that's calling someone. I've done it before where it's just like something stressed me out, called someone else up and said, hey, I'm stressed out. I'm about to make a lot of bad decisions, but I don't want to do it.
Let's catch the spiral before it spirals.
Yes.
It's powerful.
Like, how many times did I have to spiral and dig the hole and then have to have somebody come dig me out?
Exactly.
So, trying to get better at that at its core. And I'm not sure that's going to shift throughout. Like that has been something that I've really been actively working on.
It's almost like building healthy habits is a habit that you're embracing.
Well, sticking with a habit, sticking with something until it becomes a habit.
You're like making habits out of habits.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Making habits out of habits. So, but yeah, like that is, but it takes a long time, I've learned to,
Yeah.
it's for the habits, first of all. Yeah. But it takes a long time to like figure out what it is that I truly need. And like my need, like, cause you had like, with the topic you had at first, you had presented at first, like, at the end of the day, it's a need situation. And like to figure out what I truly need, it's not a thing. Like, because if I continue to try to find the next thing, then I'm never going to be satisfied. And I have to always ask myself, what is it that I'm really looking for inside this thing? And like once I kind of like have sat with that and really figured that out, that's I would say that's the harder part to find out. But that need that I finally was able to understand, that hasn't changed whatsoever. Like, I need to be able to physically exert myself so that I can hear clearer. I need to be able to write or do something so that, I need to be able to write so that I can find a way to tap into letting go and being open to new things. Because when I don't do those things, I become very stern and I start to lose my mind.
I love how we've taken this even one layer deeper. So it's like, not only is it like with my examples, I need to have a calm body. So I tap into my parasympathetic nervous system. I need to be present. So I tap into the now. And I need the support of my higher power. So I tap into source. Like now we've realized so that's even cooler because now those needs can be fulfilled even more ways than maybe just parasympathetic nervous system now and source. Like now we've gone one step further at my needs and who knows what will come from.
See, and I hear that. I heard that from you. I hear that you say that and I'm just like, it is almost like how this podcast go where like we have these perspectives and then we have the spiritual part. Like what you said, like I need to tap into my parasympathetic nervous system, which means you need to like calm.
Right.
Body needs to be chilled out. And I would imagine in some way you're able to hear or be able to do something more deeper with your higher power with that. And then tapping into the now, and you need to be able to be in the now so that almost just like you can be focused. I mean, in my head, all of those things that you just described, I was thinking is what helps you to be able to tap into your higher power.
Yeah.
Like you don't like when you do those things, you don't have to force a connection.
Yeah. They build on each other. It's like how your running clears out I see what you're saying.
So I'm listening like, oh, that's how Lucy's physical journey allows her to tap into her higher power. Just like mine is running and doing those different things.
That's so cool. It's so powerful for us, for like everyone in the existence to figure out what that is and just fill that need.
What does that look like for you, man?
And just fill that shit, yo.
Yeah. Like, and I think that's a really, and it's just like spirit, physical, like, human, and then you end up tapping into that spiritual part. It just naturally just gets in there. Because I would imagine as you're in the now, you could probably hear higher power a whole lot
Exactly.
better. Like when I'm physical and I'm exerting myself, I can hear God a whole lot easier. I can hear God a lot easier when I'm writing.
Damn.
It's not forced. I don't have to sit back and say, God, I'm tapping into you right now. And you're just like, no, you've already been doing it. Chill out.
It's like the facilitator. It's the gateway drug.
It's the gateway. Yeah, it's the gateway. So.
That's cool.
Yeah, I like that.
Bravo. Yeah. That was fun. Good to be back. All right, I'm going to close this out. Higher power, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can,
and the wisdom to know the difference. Boom. See y'all next week.